I'm not even gonna look at that piece of wood right now. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We got another exciting video for you today. First of all, I just wanna say thank you all so much for the 500 subscribers. We finally hit that goal. We hit that goal pretty quickly too once we got close to the 500 count. So as promised, we're gonna start opening up memberships. Once we get access to that, we just need to get some watch time up and we'll have that community feature open up. We plan on having a couple of different levels, so if you guys just wanna donate and get some access to some pretty cool behind the scenes stuff, we're thinking of also setting it up so that we can give you unmetered access into our parts catalogs and inventory. So if you guys are looking for parts for a specific boat, you can directly message us through the channel membership once it's set up, and we'll help you guys track down those parts that you're looking for, and we'll make sure that we go out of our way to try to get them for you, because I know sometimes it can be hard to find a really specific part for something if you're missing it. Case in point, I mean, even that little Chris Craft emblem up there, if you're having a hard time locating like that star or something, give us a call. There's a chance we could have one. We have quite a lot of inventory tucked away everywhere from all of our previous builds, and we are constantly obtaining new parts as well. So we have lots of new parts in our inventory. So we want to share that all with you guys, as well as we're thinking of doing some merch once we get up to 1,000. So it'll be another milestone. But yeah, just once again, thank you guys all so much for your support. This has been a really awesome experience, and we're happy to share our progress and restoration tutorials with you guys. That all being said, last video, we were working on replacing this frame rail. Now we had taken out this frame right here, and we're working on doing this one next. I think once I get this one installed, with clamps similar to this one, then we will begin fastening it down, getting those both attached, get them painted, and then we can move on to the next ones. So I marked with tape each one of them that has to be replaced. So there is quite a few, but we'll get that all situated, and hopefully that can improve again the shape of our keel. We've been having it sit here for quite some time under pressure. I don't really know if that's gonna do any difference, but you know, honestly, figured it won't hurt. If anything, it might slowly put a little tension on here, who knows? That's just hopeful thinking, but anyways, yeah, let's get back on it and get back to doing some woodwork here. So just a brief recap of where we were last time. We have these two frame pieces here. One of them has seen some better days, but we can fill in the blanks and realize that they're essentially the same piece. So what I'm gonna do is I have the one piece marked out on this piece of wood twice. So as I showed you in the last video, I'm gonna go around with some tape, mark it out, and I'm only gonna cut out one piece to start with. And the reason for that is I wanna make sure that it fits on both sides. If I'm gonna make a duplicate piece, there'd be no point in cutting them both out and realizing I needed to add a little bit in a certain area. So they should be identical. From factory, they should be identical, but you know, sometimes that isn't always the case, especially with distortion and what we're trying to do with this keel, which is reposition where it currently is a little bit. We may have to adjust these. So like I said, we're gonna start off with taping this one out, cutting it out, and we'll go from there. So there we go, I got that all cut out. Just gonna line this one up, make sure everything is sitting nice. And as I had hoped, there's a little bit extra on this side, and then there's a little extra on this side. Keep in mind, I marked on the outside of the wood, I taped up to it, so I'm already adding about a 1/16 all the ways around. And then by doing that, I'll have a nice little margin for error for the whole piece. So I'm gonna go see if this fits on both sides, and then I can trace it out and then put in the tapered kind of edges on there. Kind of hard to see, but this is in fact tapered toward this direction. So let's go test fit it. So I was walking over here with my piece of wood, all excited to put this in and test fit it. And then I realized something. This is really short. Now, yes, it may fit in the hole, which is great, but why is it sitting so far away from the keel? Now, I made the mistake of just going ahead and copying this piece, which I tell you this much, I'm not gonna make that same mistake again. But if you look at every other frame rail, it goes all the ways up to the keel. All the ways up to the keel. You see that again right there? So somebody has really just gone to town on these frame pieces. It looks like they not only cut the end of it, but then they painted it. So that makes it a little bit harder to tell that it's been monkeyed with because it has paint on the end of it. But this should go all the ways up to that keel and then have a brace piece. It should be almost identical to this one. So yeah, that's a funny little mistake. And like I was literally just saying, that's why you only cut out one piece at a time, just in case, because you don't want to waste this wood. I'm sure I'll find a use for this. I'm not concerned with it, but yeah, it just goes to show, don't trust everything you see on the boat. Double check everything for yourself. The second mistake I technically made as well, had I been installing this, is I did cut the batten out here too. So that's another one. This should have gone up and over because I'm not cutting the batten lines in yet. So that actually, if you take a look at it, I've actually cut out that batten line, which I didn't really want to do. It's not super far off, but yeah, that's just, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and you look at the rest of the frames too, and it's all kind of starting to make sense why this keel is so bent out of place. I was taking a look at this and I'm like, okay, well, I'm comparing this frame and these ones, because this one hasn't really been manipulated yet. And I noticed that there's this right here. So someone's gone out of their way to cut this and fit this in here, but you're creating pivot points. So when you push down on the keel, it no longer goes all the ways down to the side. The pressure is coming off of here. And to that end, look what they've done right here. So they've cut this frame right here, and they've created a pivot point because you have pressure coming on to the keel. It's gonna push down and lift, and this is a weak spot. And if you compare that to where the bend in the keel is, there's the middle of the bend. Here's a cut frame. Here's a cut frame. And this frame is really thin for the purpose of the engine. I mean, look how much play I can get out of that with my hand. So what I'm thinking happened is this thing must have impacted something, and they cut pieces of wood and just screwed them to the sides of it and created a ton of movement and play in this keel. I don't know 100% what the effects of this would have been had I just put the marine plywood bottom on. I'm assuming you'd see some sort of cracking or peeling from the 5200, but I mean, that's just, that's unacceptable. There's no other word for it. I mean, look at that. So going forward, I am going to be templating my own frame pieces. I no longer trust what's coming off of this boat. I'm not even gonna look at that piece of wood right now. So I'm gonna start by putting this piece of wood on here. The old frame piece, I do like where this is sitting with the taper. So we're gonna copy that. We're gonna copy all of this, but right to here, I am going to build this piece out and make it fit. So let's get on to doing that. So to mock that piece up, I got a piece of cardboard here, and I'm going to be putting that cardboard up on there, tracing out the piece that I need, and seeing if I can't get it to fit really nice. Now to template out of the cardboard, what you do is you get it lined up relatively close to where you need it. You're just trying to get a really close guesstimation with this cardboard piece. So I'm gonna make sure that this is all lined up here, get it as close as I can, clear any areas out that might be kind of high like that, make it really nice and close. Now, what you do is once you're happy kind of roughly where it's sitting, you'll get some tape out. You'll make sure that you get it all marked up, and you'll use the tape as filler. So you can fill the gaps in, and you can subtract with the scissors, and you go back and forth until you have a really nice solid piece of cardboard. I'm actually gonna tape this one up anyways because it's flopping around a bunch, and I wanna add some reinforcement to it. So by putting a couple of pieces of tape across the cardboard, made it a little bit more rigid, and I was able to Get a really nice fitment right here, right along the bottom part. Comes up high on here, touches on this point, and then right here comes along quite nicely. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate where half is. I'm going to take this over to the other side. I'm going to guesstimate where half is again, kind of split the difference. And then when I actually make this piece, I will be putting, I'd say at the very least, 1/16 or even an 1/8 of an inch the whole way around extra, just so I can shave it and get it into the proper shape. Again, another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this, I'm on the small of the taper, right? So if I had this piece over here, it would be slightly longer. So that's what I mean by adding extra bits. If I can add this much distance on this tape pelt right around here, I know that it will fit when I go to put it in place. So that's what we're gonna do next, is rough this out and get a piece cut out for it. Remember last time I talked about making a tape pelt like this? Well, look, it's already coming in handy. I can put it down like that and I can get a nice slope on here, similar to the other side, by just laying my tape pelt on top of it. And I can mark it out and I'll have that very nice slope similar to that one. So keeping these tape pelts can really help you in the building process. So from that piece of cardboard came this piece of wood. And as you can see, the top part is just a little bit higher here. This is also just a little bit higher. I got a really nice angle here, a really nice fitment right there as well. It's all lining up really square on the bottom. The only thing is it's a little bit tight, so I might just clean up a little bit of the top here, not too much. But what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna measure from this point to this point, find the center, put the center on here, put the center on here, get it marked, and I'll possibly cut just a little bit over, but I'm not gonna do that, the actual cutting part of it, until I get this on the other side to verify. But that's how it should look. It should go across the whole length of the way to support it. This is a nothing piece. Well, it's unfortunate, but we can use it for something else. I mean, who knows, maybe I save up enough of these, I can make a cutting board or something. Actually, I just had kind of a cool idea. We're still thinking up some things we can do for different tiers of different memberships and all that. Maybe with this extra cutoff piece and whatever other pieces we have, we can make you guys like little keychains or something out of it. That'd be kind of cool. We want to make sure that we're doing things fun with our membership. So like I said, we'll have like kind of like a lower tier where you can subscribe and be part of the community. And then after that, we'll actually have like some perks included with it. And on the higher tiers, we may even be giving away like some, you know, some merch, some cool things and stickers, hats, maybe little trinkets like this made out of the pieces of wood that come off of this boat, stuff like that. But we got lots of big plans and we want to make sure that we keep it fun and exciting for you guys as well as informative. So yeah, that'll be kind of fun going forward. But man, I'm happy with that piece of wood. Just have to make sure it fits on the other side and we're good to go. And keep in mind too, these aren't going to be the same pitch because the whole thing is flat and slowly rolling up. Man, I'm excited. Awesome. Oh, and this piece, if you're looking at it, just a little piece of a screw sticking up. So this does fit. I just have to move it, but that'll come up and fit too. So yeah, there we go. So a little pro tip, guys, once you get your piece fit, if you soak the keel with oil, it'll actually tell you where you have to shave. So there you go. Soaking the piece of wood in oil is a great way to mark out your templates for the next piece of wood. Isn't that right, Artem? Yeah, that's perfect. I was just thinking too, I don't think I've actually shown you guys how I'm fitting this piece of wood in here. So something kind of funny about this, it's underneath this and it's underneath this part. And it goes over top of this. So I can't just, you know, and this is really hard to do because it hits this piece. So putting these in has been quite difficult, but let me just show you how I've been doing it. So I get it kind of at an angle, and then let me just move you guys over here. I get this set up so it can just start to spin past, and I get this put in so it just starts to drop into the pocket. And if you do it just right, and with quite a bit of force, not too much force, but you can get the twist, and then you can kind of just tap it to where you want it to go. Now, when I first did that on that piece of wood, figuring out how to do this, oh man, that took me quite a bit of time. It's funny, things just as simple as putting the piece of wood in that you've just made can take up so much of your time, and it's such a simple thing. You get hung up on stuff like that and you start to think, well, man, I'm not very good at this. If you just keep fighting through stuff, you'll find a way to do it. You'll find a way to make it work, and it'll always work out for you in the end. But yeah, patience is a very important virtue when working on things. But I think that's sitting really nice now. I'm really happy with how that is in there. That turned out really nice. So what I'm gonna do is mark, like I said, the center part, and then I'm gonna flip it over. So let's do that now. And you know what? Speaking of learning and being patient, I just found an easier way of putting these pieces in. I drop it in at an angle and then I twist. Oh man. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it, eh? That's a lot easier. That is a lot easier to do. Live and learn. So I got this mounted up on the other side, kind of roughly. It's not really in position right now. Something I noticed is there's actually a piece of wood right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and chisel, very gently chisel that away and see if I can get this to fit a little bit closer. Again, someone's really just gone to town on these frames, so nothing is where it should be. So that's all good. Just chisel that out and keep moving ahead. Okay, that was a lot easier than I thought. Keeping in mind that this has to be tapered to match this side, I think that'll fit relatively good once it's all in place. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this piece out. I'm gonna replicate it, keeping in mind not to replicate the same angle, but I'm pretty happy with where we're sitting with this. Now again, watch out for those tapers. I have some overhang on this piece right here and it goes in. So by copying this line exactly, I'm gonna make a mistake. So what I wanna do is mark out the distance of the taper, which is roughly right around here. And again, I'll quantify that with the tape in a second. And just mark that out. That does one of two things. So not only do I now know to cut on this line, which I'll tape out, but it also shows me when I go to make the angle where the low part is and where the high part is. So that's a nice little trick too. That helps you angle the bandsaw blade so that it's hitting on this line, and this line is where it's actually been cut. So yeah, just another little trick. So I'll get this all cut out now and on we go. So what I'll do next is I'll come over to here, and I made a tiny little mark, so I have a gap about this big. So what I'll do is I'll set that on my finger with a pencil, get a rough estimate, and I'll just draw that line on here, just like this. If you keep it mounted to your hand like this, push your finger up against the edge, you can make straight lines on anything, if this edge is straight. But that's like a really nice trick I found for stuff like even this corner. Keep my finger placed and the pencil into it, and I can do that. Make really nice corner curve pieces. This is nice if you need to take off like a certain amount, and instead of having to sit there and measure the whole way, you can just guesstimate with your hand. You can get pretty close like that. So I'm gonna do that here, and I'm gonna adjust the bandsaw now. Now, this isn't necessarily my cut line, this is just sort of a guide, but you can see what happens. So the blade will be resting kind of just outside that cut line, and then if you look down at the bottom of it, the blade should stick out past the bottom. I don't want to be taking any off of the small edge. So there you go. Out of the chaos of cardboard and masking tape, we were able to create couple of very beautiful looking frame pieces. See the interlock that they have. Everything is touching. It all has to be gently tapped in with a mallet at this point, so there's a little bit of tension, just a touch on everything, but it all lines up really, really nice. So I'm super, super happy with that. In contrast, by copying the pieces, it has created a little bit of an error on that first one. So I'm gonna try to fix that with a wedge and some epoxy once it's all fastened. That's not a proper way to do it. I mean, if we were doing a full restoration on, let's say, a customer boat, we would actually, rebuild these so that they're touching and flush like these ones up in the front here. But for this boat, I'm just gonna put a little wedge in there and keep it like that. But yeah, I'm really excited with this. That looks really awesome. So the next step, of course, is building this cross brace right here. I think this shape should work. So I'm actually gonna go get the cross brace, the original one, and put it in here and see if it fits. So yeah, it looks like this is the original piece from back there. That's not gonna work in this case, which is fine. We'll just build one out of cardboard. This one's gonna be a lot easier to build for the simple reason of me being able to just template straight off of this piece. Make a nice little piece that I can copy there, make sure it's a little bit lower than here, following with that pattern on the frame, and it should be good to go. Now, once again, here's where that little pencil trick comes in handy. I got about, I don't know, maybe a little more than 1/4 inch right around here. So I'm gonna set my pencil up, keep my hand stiff, come over here. Boom, just like that. Now I have the same distance here that is over here. It's really rough. I don't recommend doing that when you're, trying to be super accurate, but for the context of just getting it close enough, that is perfect. Now I got this cross brace piece done. Let's see how it fits in here. So yeah, looks like we're probably gonna have to do what we did before and just take a tiny little chunk out of there. All right. So it's all fastened on there with some clamps, and it's fitting really nice. I really like the fitment that I'm seeing. Everything's super accurate, and that's why we use the pelts, because they give you really good information that you can use to build these pieces. You can see I got this roughly where I needed it. Everything's looking really nice and symmetrical, and I'm pretty happy with where we're at so far. Now I did put a clamp on here, and I'll show you why. Some of the fasteners holding the keel to these frame pieces are actually pulling out. Now I may have to either redo some of the frames or fix the fasteners or something, but if you take a look at how much play is in this keel, once I can get this clamp in place, you can see it's all tight there now. It's the same with this one. It'll have to be moved down a bit too. I can either try to see how loose that is. I can try to tighten these up, possibly put some new ones in, but all of these bolts are either loose or completely missing or broken, and the fasteners going from here down to the frame pieces are also pulling out as well. So this may be another one that we replace, but just getting two at a time will be the trick. So in the next video, I'm going to fasten these down using bolts and screws, and I'll show you all the tips and tricks on countersinking things and getting things pre-drilled and all that, so we can go ahead and get the bottom going. That's the video for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you found anything interesting or educational, please drop a comment. Consider subscribing, it helps the channel out. And yeah, we have many new exciting things on the way, and we can't wait to show them with you. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to put them in the comments. We always get back to people. And yeah, have a good rest of your day.